Hi, my name is Keely Spring. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California and also Wisconsin. And this is my podcast where I interview fellow clinicians about the amazing work that they do. And today I have Victoria with me, and I will tell you that I'm always on the lookout for people that are doing this work and might have interesting niches. And I actually found Victoria through Nextdoor. She's part of a group that posted about the niche, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I kind of tracked her down through that. So appreciate you taking a chance on this, Victoria, and having a conversation with me. Uh,
Yeah, happy to be here.
Maybe we could start with you talking about what your niche is and the work that you do and kind of where you're located. I should tell everybody too, because it was on Nextdoor, we are actually located in the same place, which is also very exciting for me. But with that, I'll hand it over to you, Victoria, to kind of introduce yourself.
Great. Yes, I'm Victoria Holley, and I have a practice in Pacifica, which is a beautiful place, a lovely little community. And I've had my practice for, it's pretty new, just a few years old. I was, doing group practice and agency work prior to this, but I finally landed in Pacifica and Rockaway, and I love this spot. It's a great spot. I do most of my sessions in person, and I really prioritize that, although I will do sometimes like virtual sessions, especially when I'm working with parents and it's easier for them to hop on Zoom versus to come in person. I also do a bit of walk and talk therapy, which is my favorite. It's really wonderful. I do it with a variety of ages, usually 13 and up.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, so I do it in a couple different spots in Pacifica. So I do the walk and talk therapy right here in Rockaway. There's a trail, along the ocean, which is really lovely. But I also do sessions in the back of Pacifica in San Pedro Park. There's a little 1 mile trail, and a colleague actually who also does walk and talk told me, it's exactly 50 minutes long. So it's really a perfect, we don't have to be timekeepers in our sessions together, and it's just a really wonderful spot to go. I work with a variety of ages like I had mentioned already. So the youngest is usually around 6. And then I work with, teenagers, adults. I don't work with couples yet, and I don't work with families. So I do a lot of individual work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I might see you out I walk that trail all the time, or like along the Rockaway. I'm always going by Rockaways.
We've probably passed each other.
Probably. That's great. It's good to know that too. That's where you do some walk and talk, so I won't necessarily be like, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, maybe we can kind of talk about how did you decide to do this work? Where did you, what was this path to becoming a clinician for you?
That's a good question. I've put a lot of thought into this over the years, and I wish I had a cool or really, you know, uh, insightful response. But really, it was just something that I've always known I wanted to do. And now reflecting back on it, I wonder if it's just a good match with my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I was always pretty introverted and reserved, and I enjoyed having those one-on-one deep conversations with people. I'm always very observant
Mm-hmm.
and I like listening and I really like hearing people's stories. At one point, I did want to be a writer, which was writing the stories, but I really enjoy sitting with somebody and hearing their story.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pretty safe and protective home that I grew up in. I did I did experience through people that I knew closely or people I loved a lot of trauma. And that was always really hard growing up, seeing, what my friends and my family were going through. And I didn't know at the time, but now looking back on it, that was a big piece in why I pursued this work is because very simple answers. I really just wanted to help people.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and there are a lot of people that work with children, but not as many actually as you would imagine. It is a niche that is greatly needed.
Mhm.
Would you mind just speaking to why, that's part of the population that you serve? Because it is, I talk to a lot of clinicians these days, and it is mostly adults and couples, and there's less people with a focus on children. Would you mind speaking just a little bit to like why, you're passionate about that?
Sure. I love working with children. They have a soft spot in my heart. I worked I've worked with the severely mentally ill population for a while, and that was really hard for me. I would always look at them and think, at one point they were a child, and I wonder what happened in their childhood. And it made me really want to go to that time in someone's life and really try and make a difference and help them as much as I could. I became an aunt really young, and my nieces and nephews, they're just like my life. They were the best thing, and I really gravitated towards playing with them and wanting to be with them. And then of course now I have my own kids, and they're just so innocent, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of energy when they're coming in, which I do love. And it takes a lot of your emotional energy. Um, Also, I think a lot of people have a hard time working with kids because when you work with kids, you're also working with the family, you're also working with the parents, and that really is sometimes really double the work. It's
Yes.
double working with the kids, with the parents. I personally really like working with parents. I'm very pro parents, what's working for you, and then also finding that balance between like, well, what does your child need?
Mhm.
So I really work towards trying to find that balance, and I do enjoy working with them. I do have to keep that in mind when I'm working on my schedule.
Mhm.
I am a part-time, my practice is part-time, so I need to be aware that when I take on a child, especially a younger child, I need to make sure there's time to work with the parents regularly as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest components people don't really realize is that you are working with the family, and it presents different unique challenges. Certainly the time aspect you're talking about, and I think most parents who are bringing their child in have the best intentions, but it can be sometimes hard to kind of navigate all the dynamics that are happening there in service of what the child needs. So I love that you kind of bring that aspect up because it is like a family system that has to kind of be engaged with.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So Victoria, what do you like about the job that you do? I mean, I think you kind of spoke a little bit to it, but like if we could just call out like one or two things that you really like love about the work.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that hands down, when you're sitting with a client and they have that aha moment, and you're pointing out dynamics and you're pointing out patterns, and you ask the questions, you let them try it out, like, oh, who does this remind you of? Or what does this remind you of? And they just this, oh. Oh, you know, like ding, like that really cathartic aha moment. It really gives me goosebumps, and it's oftentimes really emotional for the both of us. And I love holding that space for them
Mhm.
to really take that in and see that like they're learning and they're growing and they are knowing who they are more now that they've come in, and I've guided them to this point in their life. And or someone that figures something out on their own, and then they come into session and they said, I did the thing that we talked about, or I thought about the thing that we talked about, and you know what, it worked, or I get it now. And it's like I can't think of anything better in this profession than those moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Those moments are what we kind of live for. Yeah. Okay, so what kind of modalities or things are you using? I talked to a lot of clinicians who are working with adults, right? It's like CBT or, EMDR or, some more. But what kind of modalities do you use when you're working with kids?
I use mostly a person-centered approach
Okay.
with all of my clients. That's really my foundation.
Mhm.
I really believe that people know what they need ultimately and that they want to get to that spot. They just don't know how, or they don't maybe know it at that moment what they do need, but coming in, I can't tell you how many times I've sat with a client and sometimes just having the space and the containment, they will get to where they need to be.
Mhm.
And that's also true for kids. I do use a lot of, I borrow from a lot of other modalities. I do use a lot of CBT. I use a lot of
Mhm.
dialectical behavior therapy, sand tray, play therapy. I use a lot of different things, but my foundation really is just meeting the client where they're at, following their lead, and letting them use the time and the space how they need to.
Mhm. Yeah, fair. That actually answers somewhat of my next question, which is what would a typical session? I hear it's very kind of organic and you're kind of following that lead. That said, maybe we could speak to how do you present to somebody that, let's do a walk and talk? Like, how do you do that? Love to do that.
Definitely. So I have the walk and talk information on my website. And so when people are interested in it, they've already looked at it on my website. I don't think it's something that people really know is available.
Sure.
So they arrive at my website and they see it on there and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And they're curious about it. And I wonder what that would be like. And so
Mhm.
when they come in and they talk to me about it, I just simply, say we just take the therapy outside and I talk to them about some of the benefits of it. There's the biggest piece I think is the bilateral stimulation where you're walking and both sides of your brain are activated and it really is great for processing. I know for myself personally, when I'm walking, I it's my best thinking time. And
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, I'm processing and I'm thinking. And so being able to do that with somebody and not having to sit across from them and make that intense eye contact, which is the other really big thing about walking therapy that people enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not intimidating and you're just walking side by side. And so I present it to them. And that way we talk about any concerns they have. Some of the biggest ones are like, well, what if I see someone I know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What if you see someone you know? So so I say, if we see someone that you know, I'll follow your lead.
Hmm.
If you wanted to have a quick hello, I won't say anything. I'll let you do the talking. And so I've had teenagers say, I'll just say like you're my aunt or something. Okay, cool. That's fine. Or maybe you see someone that's far enough ahead where we're like, well, let's kind of veer off here and that way we don't need to cross paths with them.
Hmm.
If I see someone I know and they make eye contact with me and see me, I'll just do like a quick, a quick wave and say, let's catch up later or something along those lines and then keep walking. But I make sure that I communicate that I keep their privacy. Although honestly, I have to say
Sorry.
most people don't even like they don't really care. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll just tell them you're my therapist and I'm doing therapy."
Yeah.
I'm like, "That's cool. That's up to you." So, yeah.
It's funny because it seems so natural. I've debated this for years. I've actually tried some of my adult clients that are depressed. For the reasons you're talking about. Let's just get outside. Let's go for a walk. And I've had so many people shut me down and be like, "Why would I go out in the world with you?" Like we could just sit here and talk to each other, and then nobody knows. And I think yeah, but like there's such a beautiful, and you're in such a beautiful location. Rockaway is just such a beautiful location for, and San Pedro is amazing as well. I've done
Yes.
numerous hikes.
Yes, it's so true. And especially at San Pedro too, there's a lot of wildlife.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities to stop and just be mindful. We're gonna see these like little bunnies and we stop and we're like, oh my gosh, it looks so soft. Like, could you imagine what it feels like to touch the bunny? And then, for a moment we're practicing, let's get our mind here and now in the moment, and we'll take a break from the other big thoughts that are coming up and the big feelings that are coming up for you. And this is what we can do all the time in everyday life. We can just stop and be mindful. So I really enjoy seeing the wildlife, and it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. But I agree, there are a lot of people who also are not ready for it, especially those who come in and they really want that privacy of letting go of their emotions,
Yeah.
and they say, I'm just gonna come in and I need to let all the tears out. And I really want to do that in a space where I feel really contained and safe. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice that you have the flexibility to kind of offer both of those options.
mhm.
I do wish more people would opt for being out, just kind of for all the reasons that you said. I just think it's such a powerful, powerful tool. I love that you're practicing that way. It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So pivoting a little bit here, are there things that still surprise you about being a clinician?
Yes. A lot of things surprise me. I think one of the biggest surprises is you just never know what someone is going to come in with. You never know how they're going to present from session to session. I could have an idea. I'm a big planner. I love planning. But I also like just kind of seeing what comes up, but always have a plan in the back of my mind.
I'm
So
with
I
you.
have a plan, and then someone comes in and, oh, surprise, and there's a crisis, or surprise, like I'm gonna have a baby, or just something
Yeah.
something that I'm not expecting, and that surprises me all the time. I'm also really surprised at everything that I learn from my clients,
Uh,
and that goes back to my foundational approach of the person-centered therapy, is that I don't pretend to be like the expert in anyone's life. Like, I really like to be, one-on-one with a person, and I'm constantly learning from everybody, especially teenagers. I love, you know, I love learning from them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me, like, what does that mean? And like, tell me more about that. So
yeah.
I'm always learning from everybody, the kids, the teenagers, the adults, and I don't think that's something that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
Um, what else? So I'm also surprised at how many people come in with their own internal resources
Mm,
that they don't know they have.
yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And that's so amazing, because I'm like, wait, but you're doing all the things.
Yeah. For
You're
sure.
going and you're going for a walk, and you really love fishing, and I bet you're being really mindful when you're fishing. And
Hmm.
when you're out there, and it's really, you're in the zone. And so then it becomes me really naming those things for them, and then bringing them back up time and time again, so they can leave my office and then intentionally use those resources that they already have. And that makes a really big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all three of those. I totally agree with every single one. And I always think, because I'm a planner as well, and so I'll have in my mind, I'll be like, oh, I'm making up a name, like Sally's coming in, and I'm like, oh, well, Sally did, last time we talked about this, and I'll expect like she'll probably want to keep talking about, and then she'll come in and be like, nope, detour, we're going this way, and you're like, oh, all right,
Yeah,
let's go.
total brain shift. Okay, let's do this then.
Right? Yeah, it's a wonderful part of our job for sure.
Yeah.
Um, okay, are there things that you wish people knew or understood about therapy?
Yes, I I wish people really understood that finding the right fit is really, really important. I don't pretend, like I mentioned before, to like know all or be able to work with everybody. And sometimes the vibe is just not there. Someone might come in and either it's not a fit for me or not a fit for them, and that part is extremely important. I've had families come in that might disagree with my clinical approach, and I welcome that difference, and I say that's okay that you don't agree, and at the same time, what does that mean for our work together?
Yeah.
Because this is the way I might work with this client, with your child. And so then it comes to this conversation of like, let's maybe try someone else who might have a different lens or a different approach. So I definitely think that if people understood that more, they might, maybe if therapy doesn't work out for them, it doesn't meet their expectations with one person, to try again, try for somebody else, because you just really need to find that person that gets you and who you really get also.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. That's actually one of the reasons for these videos is there's showcasing all the different nuances, right? Because everybody has a little different flavor or uniqueness to how they practice and the ways in which they practice. And sometimes I think it's so intangible of what resonates for somebody versus others. And to your point too, it's like a mutual fit, right? That we're looking for of, oh yeah, this feels like something I could help with in this way, and they get to say like, oh, that feels aligned with how I would like to work on that. So I love that you kind of bring that up because I do think it is such a pivotal point. And I think actually the research does say that, all the styles are great. The CBTs, the EMDR, whatever, they're all great. They all have their evidence, or, at least some of them have a lot of studies around them, that kind of stuff. And the biggest predictor of positive outcomes is therapist fit,
Mhm. Mhm. I
right?
remember I remember learning that when I was a brand new therapist, and I thought, this is the thing that I'm always going to come back to.
Mhm,
Because one thing that I know is that I'm really great at connecting with a lot of people. And if I don't, that's okay too.
mhm,
So even during those times when I'm like, what does this person need right now? And it's not coming to me right away, there's always that relationship and that connection.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so final question in this kind of clinical space. Is there a tool or something that we could share with the audience that might be useful that people could use?
Yes, I love tools. So as much as I'm a non-directive therapist, I have a ton of tools in my toolbox, and I am ready to pull them out for, my colleagues tease me because I always have like, oh, that tool would be good for that, or
I'm with
but
you.
I think like two of my favorites. One of them is using the five senses. It's a really common tool for a reason, because it's easy, it's accessible, people get it. So it's name five things that you see, four things that you hear, three things you can touch, two things you smell, one thing that you taste.
Hmm.
So I always try and bring that into our session, like, hey, you could use this at any time. You can do it in your head. You don't have to say it out loud. Nobody will know what you're doing. But when you're doing these things, you're interrupting whatever's happening in your mind that is causing you some maybe emotional distress.
Hmm.
And while, those thoughts might interrupt your mindfulness practice, you can still like go back to doing the five senses. And I think it works better, at least in the beginning, when I'm working with especially kids, than saying like, "Oh, take some deep breaths." I think often people get actually like, "Ugh, I've tried that. It doesn't work. And, of course we know, well, yes, absolutely works, but,
Sure.
we're not going to say that in that moment.
Yes.
And so that's what I pivot to. Like, well, let's do this instead. And then we slowly kind of work to also bringing in like the deep breathing because it is obviously a really effective science-backed tool that anybody can use to activate that relaxation response, which brings me to my second tool. When I'm going towards teaching people how to deep breathe and how it works, I actually use my Apple Watch.
Oh, okay.
And we'll do like an experiment. And I do this more so I think with kids, that kids and teenagers than adults. I can tell the adults about this. The kids we experiment. We'll say, let's get up and do like 20 jumping jacks. And we'll just like get our heart rate going like really fast. And so we'll get our heart rate going. Sometimes kids have their own Apple Watch.
Sure.
If they don't, I'll measure my heart rate and I'll say, see, look, my heart rate's up to like 140 or whatever it is. And then I'll have them feel their heart rate. Is your heart rate going really fast? And then we'll sit down and we'll take a couple of deep breaths and then we'll watch on my Apple Watch the numbers just drop and drop and drop. And I'm like, see, this is like science. And so kids really like that part where
Yeah.
they can see that it's actually working.
Yeah.
And I do
Absolutely
have
love
some,
this.
yeah, it's amazing. And I have some adults who actually try this too at home
Mhm. Mhm.
after we talk about it, and they're like, okay, I feel my heart going really fast. And then they get really curious.
Yeah,
How fast is my heart rate going? And then they look. And then even just that act alone of looking at your heart rate can be calming too.
for sure.
It like brings your attention to it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my second favorite tool. Like I have a million of them, but those are my two big ones.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I think they're both really readily accessible and useful in kind of bringing that mindfulness and that awareness. I use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the time as well. I'm gonna start incorporating the Apple Watch one now, which is amazing. But yeah, and even like, when people are in panicking mode or, overwhelmed by anxiety, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is just such a like it just brings you right back into the body and grounding and all the kinds of things that then help you, because when we're activated that way, right, we're not thinking. Our prefrontal cortex, or the part that's logical, is not online saying like, oh, but this is not okay, right? We're just like, reacting. And so the bringing it back to the senses is just such a powerful tool for people.
Yes, I love it. And I love the things that people come up with when we're practicing
Yeah.
session, like what they're feeling and like physically touching and what things they point out in my office that they see. It's
Love
always fun to see that.
it. Sure, for sure. Okay, so thank you. That is the clinical part. Are you
Okay.
ready to kind of pivot and be seen?
Yes, yes.
A little bit more seen, maybe in a different context. So I call this my being seen questionnaire, and we'll just dive right in.
Okay.
All right, so first question. What is something that's making you happy right now?
Hmm. A lot of things, I think. Of course, my family,
Mhm.
my husband and my two kids, they're growing up and they make me so proud. And, going back to like kind of those surprises, like I'm surprised all the time at, these humans that are growing. And I feel really supported by my husband in pursuing this profession and just always being there for me. So, and then the other thing that makes me really happy, especially right now, is when the sun's out
Yeah.
and when it's nice weather, and that's always an instant mood boost for me.
Yeah, probably makes those walk and talks even better as well. Getting that vitamin D.
Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite app?
My favorite app. I would have to say probably my calendar app.
Yeah, I live by my calendar app. I get it. Yeah.
Yes, I had already mentioned, I love to plan and it gives me containment. It gives me structure, like to know like what's happening. And then also just, there's so many things going on with when you have kids and sports and activities and so my husband's very kind of opposite. So then me being able to put things in my calendar also gives me this like purpose to
Mhm.
that helps him, stay organized. So,
Yeah.
so I like plugging that in, all the things.
Yeah, all the things for sure. Okay, beach or mountains?
Both. Both. I'm not a person who has a lot of favorites.
Ah,
So everything is so dependent on a ton of different variables.
fair.
So, I mean, we live at the beach, right? The beach is right here, but you won't really find me at the beach a lot here because I like warm, sunny beaches.
Fair.
And it's not always like that in Pacifica. So if you're talking about like if I'm in Hawaii, then beach for sure. But when you're talking about like a cold, foggy day, then definitely the mountains. I mean, it could be cold in the mountains and I'd be super happy, but when I'm thinking about the beach,
Yeah,
it's definitely
the
got
warm.
to be warm. And
Yeah.
my sisters and I have two older sisters, and one lives in the mountains, one lives on the lake, and I live in by the ocean. So we always kind of joke that we have, the best of everything when we visit each other.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Okay, what is one thing that movies never get right?
Oh, when the movie is based on a book
Oh
and
yeah.
and it just is never, it's never right.
Yeah.
It really, the books are always so much better. My kids and I like to read books that have movies, and we
Mhm.
read the book first together, and then we watch the movie, and then we compare and contrast. And it's always like, And I think that just speaks to how powerful our imaginations are in our mind, and which is why like it's so great to read because I mean, how often are we really using our imaginations as adults?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 100% with you. I love the book versions, and I'm always like, well, why did they leave that part out? That part was so
Yeah,
interesting.
yes, hello.
Yeah. Yeah, or like that's not how that person looks, because like in my mind, they look different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Best way to relax for you.
Um, Best way to relax, probably reading.
Yeah.
Reading, being out in the sun, soaking up the sun. Um, as I get older, I'm more appreciative of just the sounds in nature. It was never really like that for me before, but being able to sit out on my deck or something and just listen to the birds and just, pay attention to all the different sounds that there are is really soothing for me.
Hmm.
But I'd say reading is probably my number one,
Hmm.
'cause it really is like an escape. You can really leave your everything behind
Yeah.
during that time that you're reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that about books as well. I feel like you enter a different world and then time goes away and you're like, oh wait, where did the time go? I was just in this other space. Yeah. Are
Yeah.
there particular genres you like or?
I go back and forth between a lot of different genres, but I read a lot of historical fiction,
Okay.
which
Hmm.
is so interesting, but also really heavy.
Yeah.
So I can only read those, maybe a couple, and then I need to move on to something, lighter.
Like
I really do like reading about relationships and
yeah.
families.
Yeah.
And I just this morning finished Remarkably Bright Creatures,
Oh, I,
which I kept hearing about it, and I'm pretty sure that the high school here had this out for their summer reading. And so, I try and pick up those books too. So,
sure.
have those conversations. And it was a wonderful book, with how different people's lives intersect. And, one of the main characters is an octopus who, they're incredibly smart and intelligent, and it's a great book. I totally recommend it.
Awesome. I'm gonna look that one up. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Okay. Dream trip location. Is there anywhere you would like to go?
Um, hmm. I've always wanted to go to Australia, New Zealand, Ireland. I have roots in Ireland, so it would be great to go there. I'm not a huge traveler, so just like the thought of getting to these places is daunting to me. Uh,
Yeah, it's a lot.
we when we go on vacation, we tend to go to Hawaii, and I feel like that's a long trip.
It is for sure. You're almost halfway to Australia though, in New Zealand.
Yes, actually, someone did tell me that they have family in Australia and they live here in California, and that's actually a good meeting spot for them. And they
Yes.
meet in Hawaii, and like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe one day, we'll make the extra trip after Hawaii.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Actually, I did live a little bit in Australia and Brisbane, and
Oh, okay.
it was amazing, wonderful. Can't recommend Australia enough. I try to go back every couple years, but I would say that like some of my friends from there would always be like, "Let's meet up in Hawaii." It was like a common thing. So
Yeah, okay. I'll have to more get more serious about planning a trip there.
it's good. I just think yeah, you have to have like a long enough time, right? If you're gonna spend, 11, 13 hours on a flight there, if you're lucky enough to get direct, you might as well stay for a while and
Oh,
enjoy as much as possible.
please. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, yeah. That's a special question for me, I think, because I've done a lot of work just kind of embracing my inner child
Mhm.
and seeing like what did my inner child maybe not get when she was younger. And so I would I would like physically embrace myself more, like give myself more self-love. Like it's okay. It's gonna be okay. And really, like just thinking about all the things that kids worry about, like with their school and their grades and their friends. And, it's so big in their life at that time. And that was definitely true for me as a child. And so being able to just, hug myself and say, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of the four seasons, I know you don't pick favorites, but do you have a favorite of the four seasons?
So again, it depends because
Fair.
if like, in summer in Pacifica is like the worst season. I,
Yeah.
I I really have a hard time being in Pacifica in the summer.
Yeah.
So anywhere else that typically gets warm in the summertime, I'm all about that. I did grow up in Northern California where it was hot. It was like you knew, like if it's in the summer, you're going to wear shorts and a t-shirt every day.
Yeah.
And you just knew, and I liked that knowing, even though it was really hot, like it's going to be hot today. And then in the winter, like it's going to be really cold.
Uh-huh.
So, but also I have to say in fall in Pacifica is just absolutely like delicious. I mean, it's the best. It's like 70s or, upper 60s, and it's sunny and it's beautiful. So I'd have to say those two. I'm not winter and spring. Eh, yeah, summer and fall.
Fair. Yeah. Yep. I agree. We're in that beautiful part of Pacifica right now, the like beautiful weather and I always notice too that the waves are bigger during this time. So like you at nighttime you get a lot more of the like sounds of the waves, like the crashing and stuff. There must be something all the years I've lived here. It's like every October-ish, it's like these beautiful like, you get the sunny weather and then you get these like really pounding waves and.
It's incredible.
Great. I always feel like Pacifica feels so attached to nature. Like I feel very immersed in nature all the time of like the changing of seasons and patterns and it's very,
Mhm.
very
So
important
true.
here. Yeah. Okay. What would be the worst superhero power to have?
Mm. Mind reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind reading for sure. I don't need to know what everybody is thinking. I really don't want to know,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yes, you are not alone. It's the number one answer I've gotten from clinicians, which is not
Yes,
surprising.
we know. I mean, we hear a lot already, and we're so privileged to be able to hear that information. But then there's also a lot of things that really don't need to be voiced out loud.
No, no, not every thought. I mean, that's kind of one of the things we work with people on, right? Is like not every thought is a winner or like true or valid or they can come and go, and to hear that constant dialogue would be really hard.
Yes, it would. Very hard.
Okay, so we got two more questions here.
Okay.
First one is, what is an animal that resonates for you?
Ooh, I would say a cat. My
Mhm.
favorite animal is not a cat, but I
Fair.
I do think I have a lot of qualities about a cat. Like I do really like my alone time. I like to kind of like go into myself and recharge, and I think cats are really good about that, And I think also my we talked a little bit earlier about like reactions and like responses. And so like I'm human, right? So I have my own reactions. And sometimes I feel like a cat, like a hissing cat or something, when something like really comes up for me. And, I've done a lot of work to be able to like respond rather than react. But I think that's something growing up was really hard for me. And I have that instantaneous, um, reaction when something is upsetting to me.
That kind of like startle. I'm around
Mhm.
cats and they get startled, right? And then tail goes up and then
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes me just like, I'll come out and, talk and be social, like kind of when it works for
yeah.
me, Of course not at work, that's different.
Fair. Understood. Okay, so final question. When you look back at your life, what do you hope you'll be able to say about it?
Hmm. I would like to be able to say that I raised my kids to have, a happy and productive life, but also knowing that it's a roller coaster and being okay with like it's not normal to always be happy. And because that's just a trap that sometimes we think about. And so if I can raise these two human beings to, be emotionally intelligent and really, you know themselves so that in turn they can, affect others, then that would be amazing.
Beautiful. Beautiful answer. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Victoria. You are officially seen. Uh,
Thank you.
And for anybody listening or watching, I will include Victoria's information so you can reach out. That said, Victoria, is there anything that we didn't talk about? I mean, we covered a lot of topics here, but if there's anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure people know, um, happy to give you some moments here to share that with everybody.
I don't know. I think we pretty much covered everything,
Great.
Yeah, I mean there's so much to talk about, but yeah, I think we got pretty much the main points.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Well, I appreciate your time and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.